Today we're installing an AirDog II 165 on our 2011 Chevrolet LML Duramax truck. This is our Project Midnight truck. The AirDog II 165 kit for the LMLs is completely different than what you're used to as an installer or an end user. There are completely different hose sizings in this kit, and there's also a different mounting location, which we'll get into with this. So this is all completely new. The correct part number for this kit is the A5SA-BC110. Okay, now as far as the hoses go, on this kit, when you receive your kit, what you'll want to do is you'll want to look at your parts list. Some of the older kits had an incorrect hose in them. If you have received an older kit with the incorrect hose, you'll contact AirDog directly and they'll send you the replacement hose. So that'll be the first thing that we go over here is the correct hose numbers that should be in the kit. You should have the WAP 107-8-8. You should also have one WAP 128-8-11.8. And then finally, the last hose is the 112-8-8. Now all three of these hoses are at an angle to go back around, and you'll see that on where we're going to mount this. But they're all three different sizes, so you've got to pay attention to which hose that you're using. Now the hoses actually have the part numbers on a sticker right on the hose, so that'll help you identify which hose is correct. And we'll go over that as we're installing. In your kit, you'll receive, of course, your hoses, your pump motor, filters, the mounting bracket, hardware bag, line splices for shortening up your hoses, your return manifold, your return line manifold that will go in the filler neck. In your hardware kit, you'll also get, clamps, several bolts for the mounting, 2 filters, and all of your warranty instructions. Now, we've said this in every AirDog video that we've done. Your warranty card is very, very important. You'll have to submit your warranty card directly to AirDog with a copy of your receipt from us. Before you begin assembling your pump and putting it on the truck, what you'll want to do is you'll want to record your serial number and write it here on your warranty card. On the wrenches, you're going to need a 1 inch, a 3/4, a 1/2 inch, and 7/16. You're going to need a 5/16 nut driver for the return line manifold, the hose clamps, 2 Allen heads, and you can use these in any way, just simple Allen wrench if you want to, 3/16 and 1/4 inch, paint pen, right angle drill. This is the most important tool that you're going to use in the kit. Scraper, step drill bit. You're going to have a step drill bit because they're just short enough in a right angle drill to get into where we're going to be working. Now we've got just a cut-off tool we're going to use here for our hoses, and a fuel line disconnect. This is a 1/2 inch fuel line disconnect. You can pick these up at any local, one of your auto stores, Checkers, or whatever you got locally. You're going to have this disconnect the stock fuel lines. Okay? So the quick things we're going to do after we've recorded our serial number, written it on our warranty card, one of the things that we're going to do first is we're going to go through all of our fittings on the AirDog and make sure everything is tight. The 2 large fittings on here are the 1 inch. The small one is the 3/4. The small one is a lot smaller fitting on the male side that goes into the pump, and it's very delicate. You don't want to over tighten and break it off. All of these threads are NPT. So when you install them on the pump, they just have to be tight. They're not going to leak. Just get them tight. Don't over tighten them and break them off. That's very important. Now on this side that goes both to the engine and the return manifold, you'll have to have your engine fitting parallel with the return line fitting, and that will allow your return line fitting to tighten up. We discussed that in another one of our videos, but when this larger fitting is parallel, or the flat surface is facing vertical, it'll allow you to tighten up your return line fitting. And again, don't over tighten because you'll break these off. Okay, so you'll do that before you start on your installation. First thing we're going to do is we're going to assemble the base to the actual frame so we can check it for clearance. Now on your frame, your bracketry that attaches to the actual frame of the truck, you have 2, or you'll actually have 4 bolts here that are Allen headed with 7/16 bolts on the bottom of them. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take a couple of these and we're going to kind of attach the pump motor to the bracket so we can fit it up, because we're going to take it apart again. But what we're doing right now is we're just mocking it up so we can go in and drill our holes, go in and mark our holes to be drilled. Okay, so we temporarily mounted everything here so we know what our clearances are. We're going to get underneath the truck now and show you where we're going to mark it and get ready to drill our holes. This is actually where we're going to be mounting our AirDog, which is completely different from any of the other trucks, regardless of what platform it is. We're actually going to mount the AirDog right here on this frame, just like so. So we've attached the AirDog to the bracket for right now, just to be able to kind of eyeball where we want to be in relation to where our hoses are going to be. All of our hoses are going to have a bend in them. So we want to kind of check everything out here, make sure we're going to clear the drive shaft, and then we're also going to clear the fuel lines on the other side. So I've got a pretty good idea of where I want the bracket to be. First thing that we're going to do is these frames are coated for a rust protection. What you're going to want to do is use your scraper here, and you just want to scrape just a little bit of this off so you can actually get yourself a good spot to be able to mark and drill your holes. Because if you don't do this, your drill bit's going to try to walk on you. So we'll get that scraped off. We're going to take our pump off of our bracket now. And we're going to mark our 4 holes to drill with a paint pen. Set this up here. Got all 4 of our holes marked here. Now we're going to go back and center punch these. Our holes drilled in our frame and our bracket for our AirDog mounted here. These are the 1/4-inch Allen head bolts with 1/2-inch nuts and lock washers here. Before we install our AirDog, on our bracket, we're going to go ahead and disconnect our 2-engine line from here because it's open now. The AirDog's not in the way. So of the 2 lines that are here on the frame rail, you've got a bigger one and a smaller one. Your bigger one goes to your engine. So to disconnect it, it's got a red clip on here, so you just want to pull both ears on either side, and that'll let this red locking tab pull straight out. Okay. Now this is your 1/2-inch fuel line disconnect tool. You'll simply go to the steel side of the line and engage it as far as you can until you hear it click on the fuel line. Now you're going to have some fuel come out here and you might get drowned, but when you begin to pull, what you want to do is you just want to take it and move it right straight up top, and that'll keep you from getting drowned with fuel. So there's our line exposed, and now what we want to do is we want to connect our AirDog hose, and the correct hose for the 2-engine line is the WAP 107-8-8. So we take it, install it onto the male side of the 2-engine line until it clicks, and that's all we have to do. So we'll just leave that hanging right now, and now we'll install our AirDog on our bracket and tighten everything up. We want to go ahead and install our AirDog lines, and they're going to be too long. You'll cut these and shorten them up, and we'll show you that later on in the video here. But to install our lines, first what we want to do, the plastic protective plugs that AirDog sends in their fittings,
you just turn these to disengage them and then pull them straight out. So the smallest line there is the return line, and that is our WAP 112-8-8. We'll install it first. This is the line going out to the manifold on the filler neck. You just want to push it in until it clicks like that, and where these lines are curved, you'll want to route them towards the back of the pump. Okay, next will be our engine line, which we've already hooked up to the line. It goes on next, straight to the fitting, push it till it clicks. Okay, and then lastly is our suction line. Hits on the back side of the pump, removes the plug, and install the line. Our suction line is WAP 128-8-11.8, and it is the oddball size of the kit. So what we're going to do with it is we'll route it down, push it in until it clicks, and what that's going to allow us to do with the suction line is we're going to be going back to the tank. So we'll route that line back in that direction. And lastly, we installed our engine suction, or our tank suction side. You want to mount it with the bend going up and back towards the tank. This is the line that will pull from the tank. So now all we have to do here while we're here is go ahead and install our filters, and then we'll get to hooking up our lines. Okay, now we're going to disconnect the suction line on the tank and hook our AirDog line in. This is kind of a by feel thing. You can drop your drive shaft out and be able to get to it to see it. We've done several of these, so we know what we're looking for here. This the suction line is the bigger of the two lines. Okay, and it's actually the farthest one in the loop out on the tank. To disconnect it, there's a push button on the very top of the connection, and you simply push it down and pull back, and the line comes out. You can see on the top of this connection here, this is the push button that releases it. So there's your line. Now you can actually remove that line if you need to. We leave it there in case there's a failure, and we can go back and let our CP4 actually drag the fuel itself. So now our tank line, we're going to route it back through. And now we're going to attach our AirDog line, and it's just quick connect. If you go above this vent tube, that'll keep the hose from riding on the shield here and tearing your hose. Push it till it locks. Now this hose is going to be a little long. We'll shorten this up and clean this up on the install, but now we're going to install our manifold for our return line, and that'll be the last for our line, and then we're going to clean these lines up, shorten everything up, make it look nice. Okay, now we're going to install our return line manifold, and the factory has a zip tie here. It has a ground wire going to it and another vent hose, and about the place where they have the zip tie is actually where we're going to cut for our manifold. So we get our cuts here. Got our line cut, our filler tube cut here. What we're going to actually do is go back and trim just a little bit more out of it, just to give us some relief to get the manifold in. Okay, before we install our manifold, what we're going to do is we've installed both of our hose clamps before you put your manifold on. Your manifold, as you can see, has a directional arrow, and that directional arrow indicates what direction the fuel flow needs to flow into the tank that comes from the return line. So we want the arrows pointing towards the tank, and then install your manifold. turn your outlet port towards the front of the truck. So we've got our manifold installed and we've got our line routed the way we want it. We brought the return line down the frame rail, and we're just going to install it on the manifold here and push it till it clicks again. Then you want to make sure that you don't have anything touching any sharp edges. Okay, so we've got all of our lines connected now. So that kind of shows, you know, how simple that this install is. What we're going to go through and do now is we're going to shorten up all of our lines, and that's where these push to lock fittings come in. What you'll do is you'll go in and you'll cut these lines, shorten them up and clean them up how you want to, and use these push to lock fittings in between the two lines to shorten them up. So we'll go through, we're going to clean everything up, and that'll put us done underneath the truck, and we'll be able to attack our wiring harness and our install's done. Now we're going to do our wiring part of our install. Our AirDog harness is just like just about any other harness, any other AirDog harness. You've got your main relay. This will stay in the engine compartment, and we'll show you that once we get everything installed here. You've got your trigger wire. Our trigger wire is a mini jump fuse here. On your instructions, they say to go to fuse number 47. Do not do that. Fuse 47 is actually hot all the time. On the LML Chevrolets, it's difficult to find a key on fuse that goes off as soon as the key's off. But on this model, this is an LTZ. Fuse number 45, which is the auxiliary heater, is one of the only fuses that we found to be truly off when the key is off. So to install our trigger wire here, you remove fuse number 45 and put it back into the mini fuse tap here, and it will go on the bottom side, the hot side. Alright, you simply install that, and then your mini tap back there. Now this mini tap will lay out in the box, so it's going to be cut, so it'll go right through there. Next up is our all-time hot. Okay, on this truck, what we're going to do is we're going to install it on the driver's side battery. 10 metric to loosen up the nut, and they've got a couple of auxiliary posts here that we're going to be able to go to. It's going to make our install really nice. Now our last two leads, this is not going to be used. This is for the low pressure light, and this is the lead that's going to go back to the AirDog pump. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean up all this install, get our cover back on, and get our wiring loom where we want it, and then we'll move on to the back and we'll have her complete. Okay. We've got our main AirDog wiring harness all the way down, and we've zip tied everything up and cleaned everything up here. Our last connection is right here at the pump. Push it until it clicks, and this is for your, again, this is for your low pressure light. We didn't use that in this application. We've got all of our lines zip tied up and cleaned up. We're at the point where we're ready to start the truck. Now on the Duramaxes, and all of, well, for the Duramaxes for sure, the easiest way to prime this system is to go up on the fuel filter and open up the bleeder screw on the fuel filter and simply go inside the truck and turn the key on. With the key on, the engine's going to run. When it runs, it'll push fuel to the fuel filter. When you've got fuel to the fuel filter, close the bleeder screw down, and the system's primed. When you first turn the truck on, the AirDog will pretty well prime itself where it is an air separator. So as soon as you turn the power on, you'll notice that there'll be a change in the tone of the pump. It'll go to where from where you barely can hear it. Once it draws prime, then it'll get slightly louder, so you'll kind of know that it's got fuel in it, and it will bleed itself. So, you know, either way you want to do it, it's fine. As long as the truck's running and you've got fuel to the fuel filter, you're going to be in good shape. So that completes our install on our LML Chevrolet, our AirDog II 165 kit. We're going to put it on the dyno and see what kind of a difference this makes, especially with this truck. These trucks have a CP4 injection pump, so the capabilities of the CP4 is a little bit different than the CP3 that's on the earlier Duramaxes. So this should be a huge gain for us. We're going to put it on the dyno and see if we get any difference in the horsepower numbers, and we'll have some drivability reports for you as we go along. Thanks for watching.